It was Sunday, and like every other Sunday before it for the last 20 years, my parents and I had dinner together. Only difference being, today was 2 days before America's presidential election. There's absolutely no way that hurricane just up and got stronger all on its own, Dad said, flinging a heaping pile of Mom's famous mashed potatoes on his plate. Honey, Mom whispered reluctantly as she rested her hand on Dad's wrist. We agreed no politics tonight. He scoffed, bits of potato flying out his mouth and onto Mom's hand. You know, I read the other day that dogs' brain waves are connected to ours, Mom said with a forced smile as she wiped the potato off her knuckle. I think Dexter's more connected to his bed, I said, pointing to the corner behind her. She turned to see her overweight Frenchie ravishing his tattered bed like it was a medieval wench. Dexter! She yelled as we both laughed. Won't matter what your dog can do if some Haitian is just gonna cook him up and eat him. Our laughter stopped. Oh Jesus Christ, Dad, you've never even met a Haitian in your entire life, and you wouldn't even know if you did. And I hope to keep it that way. He let out an obnoxious chuckle as he shoveled another spoonful of potatoes into his mouth. I shook my head in disgust. I don't know when you became so hateful. I didn't realize being right made me a hateful person, he said. But you're not right, and you are hateful. We sat in silence, utensils clanking, my appetite fading. Mom cleared her throat before speaking. Well, I just want to say, you know, that's rich coming from you, Dad interrupted. Me? Hateful? How about you and that cult you associate with? A bunch of baby-killing, Satan-worshipping degenerates. He swallowed his food before continuing. You know, one day, probably soon, God's gonna come back to Earth and you're gonna be left behind. I'm sure your God really appreciates how you're voting for the Antichrist on Tuesday, I said with a smile. Guys, please, Mom interjected. Also, I've never once seen you step foot into a church, Dad, and now all of a sudden you're some kind of religious neophyte? What the fuck did you just call me? He screamed, slamming his fist on the table. You're the His words cut off by the deafening sound of trumpets. The ethereal music shook the cabinetry as a bright white light spotlighted Mom. Her eyes widened as she levitated out of her chair, fork and knife still firmly in her grasp, before shooting clean through the ceiling. Her utensils and clothing collided with the pristine drywall and fell onto the table between us, the light and music vanishing on their impact. Our eyes slowly lifted from the leftover pile of Mom and met each other as we said in unison, Shit.